For this day. Thank you so much for this crowd. You are everything, and I and we are nothing without you. Please help us today to learn from the speakers. And thank you for recent developments in the Clark County Court, Commissioner's Court, to recognize our God-given unalienable rights. My question for everybody today is what's on the first page of the entirety of U.S. Code? And I pray that everybody here will learn that, because it's our connection between our Judeo-Christian Bible and American law. It's page 1 is the reason the Constitution was written. And its second sentence says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." I don't know how it gets any clearer. That is the one sentence, 35 words, that is the reason that the Constitution was written. It was written to protect our God-given unalienable rights. And please, please, please help us to know that. And thank you for this day. And thank you again for still blessing the greatest nation on earth. And may we follow your light and salvage what's going on in the greatest country ever on the planet. Amen.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Staggs. I began this protest on my own because I was sick of sitting at home watching our rights be stripped away from us. Along the way, 2 amazing women have stepped up to help me, and now we will be working together towards a common goal with the start of East Texas Freedom Coalition, the soon-to-be nonprofit grassroots organization that will be working towards preserving our freedoms in this region. My friends have shown me that I am not alone in this fight, and we are here to show you that you are not alone. We are all here for different reasons. Some of us fear government overreach more than a virus. Some of us are here to protect our medical freedoms. And some of us are here because Jesus did not stay home. We may disagree on some of these points, but we can all agree that we are not selfish to want our basic human right to work for a living. We are not selfish to demand our right to assemble, and we are not selfish to leave our homes and live, because what is life without living anyways? These are our human rights, and whether God, the universe, or a giant spaghetti monster in the sky gave them to us, we are not selfish to demand our basic human rights.
We are not selfish!
We are not selfish! We have some amazing speakers here today that agree. First up is our co-founder of East Texas Freedom Coalition, Natalia Ray.
Thank you, Rebecca. So I'm Natalia. I'm with All Natural Parents. I'm a holistic health practitioner here in Tyler. And I want to thank our founding members, Rebecca and Kristen, because without you guys, this truly would not have been possible. I want to thank our speakers, who are true patriots, as well as all of you that were to come out today and take the time to support our freedoms and stand with us. And all of you that are here to support and be a voice with us, this is a historic event that I am proud to be part of. As one of the founding members of East Texas Freedom Coalition, we wanted to make this event about reminding governors, mayors, and city officials that we don't need your permission to walk outside of our homes.
We do not need your permission!
That's right. That's right. Operate our small businesses that we have worked so hard to build, shop in private businesses, get our hair or nails done in a sanitary environment. We do not consent to forced medical mandates and testing.
We do not consent!
That's right.
We do not consent! We do not consent!
We have the right to assemble, gather, and protest. It is our First Amendment right, and it is one of the most important. So today we are fighting for that amendment the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and for the future of our children in this country. We will not stand for unconstitutional rules imposed upon us. We must eliminate the dangerous narrative that has been forced upon us from the fake media that's for our health. This has nothing to do with health, and the medical community and scientific data has more than proven that. The curve has been flat for a long time now, and the numbers were skewed to begin with. The American people have been patient. We have complied for everyone's safety. While in the past 2 weeks were given, it has been 2 more and then 2 more and 2 more. So enough is enough. It's time. It's time for a change. We hold the power. They work for us. We believe in economic, personal, and medical freedom, privacy, and parental rights. Our goal is to empower others, spread facts, and stand beside those that won't stand for their freedoms being trampled on, and make sure this doesn't happen again. In the words of Benjamin Franklin, those who would give up their liberties for a little safety deserve neither. We refuse to let history repeat itself, and this day will forever be remembered as the day that we do not and will never consent.
We did not consent! We did not consent! We did not consent!
Thank you, Natalia. Our next speaker is the final co-founder of our organization, Kristen Bentley.
Wow, thank y'all. Thank y'all for being here today. What we are doing today is so important, and it's courageous. You are all exercising your right to peacefully assemble and to share your voice. You are teaching young Texans, and there are a lot of young Texans here today. You are teaching them how to stand up to government. And I am grateful. My family is new to East Texas. I was a city girl, but boy, am I glad to be in the country, in Smith County, in East Texas, and near the beautiful small city of Tyler. I grew up in the suburbs of Dallas, but I have spent most of my adult life in Southern California. This allowed me to witness San Diego go from a conservative and reasonable voice to where it is today, a place where very loud, unreasonable, liberal voices have taken over, and where the local politicians have fallen in line with Sacramento. Liberals are loud, but we must be louder. I am here to tell you, I am here to warn you that it happened fast in California. And if we don't become active in the fight for freedom, it will happen here. Freedom is all encompassing. It means economic freedom, religious freedom, medical freedom, parental rights, education freedom, privacy rights, and our right to self-govern. I am a daughter of the Republic of Texas. My ancestors, Crawford and Anna Trees, settled in what is now Dallas County. They came here to develop a republic, to self-govern, to prosper under freedom, the freedom that God gave us. When Texas joined the Union in 1845, we were guaranteed our rights as Americans. It's called the Bill of Rights, and everybody needs to read it. That document is what allows us to be here today in peaceful assembly, in response to our state government closing private businesses in Texas. We all have different reasons for being here today, but we are all here in the name the Imperial College of London was used to inform what would become one of the single worst policy decisions in our country, in our state's history. Our government, our fake media, knew within days that this model was flawed. But did they change their policy? No, they didn't. Their response was to take more, to extend the lockdowns well beyond flattening the curve. Their bad policy is now destroying our small businesses, our oil industry, our food production. And it will have long-term economic, social, and political consequences. And our local government needs to stand up and plan for it now and protect us here in East Texas.
Yes.
Woo! Right. What else do we know? We know that Sweden remained open, that their government made recommendations, but they left it to their people to manage their own behaviors, like free citizens and grown-ups do.
Yes.
Their businesses, their restaurants, their bars, their gyms, their schools, they remained open. Their economy and their culture remains intact. And now we have their data, real, valid data that shows their policy worked. They are projected to have natural herd immunity by the end of this month. The World Health Organization, a very corrupt organization as our president knows, pushed for mass lockdowns. But now, even they have to recognize that Sweden's policy worked. So what else do we know? We know without a doubt that our government's policy of shutdowns has hurt our country, our fellow Texans, our neighbors here in East Texas.
Yes.
They are hurting. We have 1.3 million Texans on unemployment. And that number does not include Texans who don't qualify for unemployment. The independent contractors, including hairstylists, who have been shut down unfairly, and small restaurant owners just starting out, like Charlie from Curbside Taco, whose popular Tyler food truck had to permanently close its doors because of the bad policy out of Austin. He isn't getting any help from unemployment. He hasn't received any government-backed SBA loans. And Charlie couldn't be here today because he's in Houston looking for a new job. We know that our children are being hurt by this. They cannot go to school. Most cannot go to child care centers. Even playgrounds have been shut down. I am a special education advocate, and I can tell you that children with special needs are being disproportionately hurt by this.
Amen. Yeah.
Most importantly, our culture is being hurt by this. We are turning into a culture of fear instead of faith. We are turning into a culture that allows bad science to inform policy. We are becoming complacent to a media that is pushing a new normal. That's right. Well, this is not a new normal. This is a new abnormal. And it will never be my normal because I am a person of faith. I am a person who believes in our God-given right to freedom. And most of all, because I am a Texan. And if there is anything that Governor Abbott You don't mess with Texans. In closing, I want to tell you that Austin is not the heart of Texas.
No.
The heart of Texas is right here in Tyler. It's right here in East Texas. It's right here. It's in all of us. God save the Republic.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Okay. I am pleased to introduce Missy Ray Weekly. She is one of the founders of both United States for Medical Freedom and Texas for Medical Freedom. Please.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here today. I'm proud to be here today. I want to start out by saying I'm here to fight for freedom. I'm here to fight for our First Amendment rights and our Second Amendment rights, which have both been violated with all of this that's going on right now. And that is the basis of my speech and what I have to say. Before the Revolutionary War, the people of the North American colonies were under the British Crown. Daily life and activities were controlled by the government. What's happening right now? They had to pay taxes that were deemed necessary to the crown or suffer the consequences. Because of this, in 1776, our forefathers detested this control to such an extent that they established a new government, beginning with the Declaration of Independence. And then during the next 12 years, formed the Bill of Rights, our United States Constitution. Our founding fathers were diligent in ensuring our freedoms. They made no special provisions for extenuating circumstances. They left no detail out. Freedom is freedom. One mom wants the freedom to give her child organic food. The next mom wants the freedom to go to the grocery store and buy and feed her child whatever. One mom wants the freedom to not vaccinate her child. Another mom wants the freedom to vaccinate her child or delay vaccinations. One man, one family decides that they want to have guns in their home and another one doesn't.
Freedom! Freedom!
Part of the problem today in our society is because everyone is too laser focused on one general specific part of their freedom. It's all connected. It's all connected. And if you're paying attention to what's happening out there in the world today, it's a little bit from here and a little bit from there and so on and so forth. It's Big Pharma, and it's the vaccines, and it's the GMOs in the food, and it's the chemtrails, and it's the fluoride in the water, and it's all connected. We need to learn to focus on what unites us and not what divides us. I support you if you don't want to go to church, but I expect you to support me when I want to go and attend my services. I support you if you choose to delay vaccinate your child or not vaccinate your child or vaccinate your child. And I expect you to support me when I choose not to vaccinate my child because I spent 4 years detoxing and healing my vaccine-injured child. We all have to learn a little bit of that old saying, walk a mile in my shoes. We're too busy meeting somebody new and immediately trying to assess them and figure out what they are and who they are, instead of allowing the grace and the space to discover what they are about and their journey. Because in the end, all of our journeys lead to the same place. We're only here for a little while. I want to tell you a little bit about my history and my background. I'm coming up on the big 5-0. I've been in this fight since I was 19 years old. I had the benefit of being in South Texas in a very wonderful church that actually had a group that met weekly. And at 19 years old, I was going to meetings and learning about the computer chip 30 years ago that they're putting in people right now. I was learning about the things that are happening right now in front of us 30 years ago. I have been to numerous protests and rallies, and the number of people that I have talked to, it's the same. Everybody wants to unite. Everybody wants to focus on what brings us together. If you know your Bible, the Bible tells us not everybody is a hand and not everybody is a foot. Somebody's got to be the eyebrow. Somebody's got to be the knee. We were designed to all work together. We all have different strengths. We all have different weaknesses. And if we learn to be patient and open our minds and take the time to discover and enjoy the journey, you might learn something you didn't know. I have the benefit of coming from a military family all the way back to the Revolutionary War. My great uncle Hugo passed away 6 years ago. He was a medic in World War II. My favorite uncle is a former U.S. Marine. My husband, who's here today, is a former U.S. Marine. My father is 26 years retired U.S. Air Force. And I myself worked on Laughlin Air Force Base for several years, which is the third largest AETC training command base in the country. I am passionate about freedom. I'm passionate about our Constitution. I'm passionate about our rights. And the problem is that most people these days, the world is designed with the media and everything going on and this happening over here. It's tearing our attention away and it's trying to keep us distracted to where we lose focus. And we're at this point now where our freedoms are hanging in the balance because people haven't paid attention for a long time. Because the majority of people live in their little bubble and they go on with their lives and do their thing. But what happens is when it comes to the point and it pierces your bubble and it gets that close to you, it's too late to fight. You've got to start the fight long before it gets to that point. If you hope, if you have any hope that there's going to be change made. So I encourage you, and I'm encouraged by seeing all of you here today. And I'm so very excited, almost brought to tears, to see so many of our youth here and holding signs and waving flags. Because someday we're all going to be old and frail and we're all going to be sick or need care. And these youth that are here today are the ones that are going to rise up and fight when we don't have the energy or the power to anymore. My son is 13. He went to his first rally with me when he was 2.5 years old. He has been to several different types of political rallies and March for Life rallies and anti-vaccine rallies. At 13, he's an old hat already, and he will tell you. He will tell you, and he can talk and tell you things that most 13-year-olds cannot. So I want to encourage all of you to be brave. We're at the point that we can't worry about what other people think anymore. We need to not be afraid to share. We need to not be afraid to open our mouths and say, this is the truth, this is right, and this is wrong. Too many things, it's been blurred and gotten gray in the middle. And our Bible tells us that he doesn't like lukewarm Christians. No. You're going to be hot or cold. You're going to have a yes or a no. This is the problem. The gray area has gotten wider and wider, and the black and the white are fading and fading. If I leave one thing with you today as I finish, I want you, try every day, even if you talk to one person, even if you send one Facebook message or one text or one picture, try to be that spark and try to be that person that's not afraid to share and not afraid to say something. None of us is promised tomorrow. Right. Anything could happen. I'm grateful that you've allowed us to come here today. I'm grateful to East Texas Freedom Coalition to have this rally, and I'm grateful to be here speaking. And I'm grateful to see all of you. Thank you very much. Yes. I would like to say a special thank you to the American Foreign Legion of West Tawakoni for loaning us the podium today. And also to Bodark Bend and Jacob Whitburn for loaning us the sound system. Without all of that, we wouldn't be here today and we wouldn't have this for you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next we have local hairstylist at Shelley Luther Salon in Dallas, Shalon Elamode, Kevin Witt.
I'm a hairstylist. I'm a resident of the Dallas suburb of Frisco, Texas, and I have been a hairstylist for 15 years. And I really recently started working at Patriotic Shelley Luther's Salon a la Mode in Dallas, Texas. I was directly impacted by the national shutdown. I was not able to work for over a month and a half, and I do not qualify for a stimulus check. Being a 1099 contract employee, I also did not qualify for unemployment that the government said that we would get. However, bills are still due, but no one talks about that. We need Texas open, and we need it open now. We have 29,000 COVID-19 cases in Texas and 816 deaths due to COVID-19. However, we have 2 million unemployed Texans. Not to mention the spike in mental illness and suicide cases due to people losing their jobs and livelihoods. This shutdown is not a pandemic. This is political. The progressive left wants to spread fear and mass hysteria. Why? To control us. That's the only card they have left to play because they are losing. They want us isolated and to feel alone and defeated. They say we are selfish, but are we? The progressive left is so filled with hate and anger for our president and we the people that they are willing to bring an end to our constitutional rights and very foundation of our country, which is freedom. This is about the communist left taking over our country and forcing us to be subservient to communist China. We urge everyone as American citizens to wake up, do your research, and stop listening to the mainstream media. To the globalist Dr. Fauci, Bill Gates, and Clay Jenkins, no, we will not take your vaccine and we will not comply. And my new boss, Shelley Luther, she gave me a statement to share with you guys. She said, I wanted to thank everyone, not only for supporting me, but for standing up for what's right. We are in a position in America when it's time to take back our freedom and show the government who's in charge. They work for us. Never again will we let them tell us how to run our businesses, or anything else for that matter. Together and united, we can take back what was once ours. Please, if you haven't already, open your business.
That's right. Thank you so much, Kevin Witt. All right. Our next speaker is Precinct Chair for Dallas County and former State Chairman of Young Republicans, Brian Bodone.
Thank you so much for having me out here this afternoon, folks. And the Open Texas movement, it has, and I've been affiliated with that group here recently, as is Kevin, and a number of folks here have been following what's been going on that page and even on other pages. I think it's something like 52,000 people are a part of that now. So that just goes to show you how strong this movement is to open our economy here in Texas and to keep it open. And it's only going to keep getting stronger. And what I wanted to tell you about today on the subject matter of millennials and how they're going to be affected by this. But keep this in mind, though, as I'm telling you about what's coming and what we're facing, that we've got to stop discriminating amongst businesses. We've got to ensure that all businesses are essential. And we've got to trust the healthy. And that includes for the millennial demographic, which is something like 4 million workers in the Texas economy. And for those of you that are wondering, well, what are millennials and the generation below them, which is Generation Z? So millennials are from college age up to about 40, and comprising about 40 million people in the state of Texas, working in all kinds of industries, hospitality, restaurants, retail. And they're getting hit hard by the recent lockdowns and shutdowns. And prior to these lockdowns and shutdowns, we had about 4 million, many of whom now have been furloughed. Now, how many of those are going to come back? That remains to be seen. And I think a lot of that is dependent upon how fast we get this economy here in Texas completely opened up. And I know that the governor has talked about May 18th being the day that he hopes that all business is going to be open, gyms included, bars included. A lot of young people work in the service industry. Well, it's very important that he sticks to his word on that, and that we do get this economy here in Texas completely opened by the middle of May. I mean, it should have already been open, and a lot of us are on the same page on that. But the longer this goes on, the greater the economic damage is going to be. And those industries that are deemed non-essential, they have folks that are healthy, ready, and able to work, not just here in Texas, but across the country. That are folks that are entrepreneurial, creative, innovative, and more resilient than you may realize. And I'm talking about the millennials here. And while there are many jobs that can be done remotely and from home, we've all heard about folks that have been doing their jobs, over the phone and on the internet recently. The reality is that there's a lot of jobs that can't be. And that's why it is so important that this economy be completely open as soon as possible. A limited operating economy, that is going to reduce opportunities for wealth generation. And for many folks, the effects of that are going to be felt for years to come. The picture isn't pretty. You can look it up, do a Google search on it, and you'll pull articles from The Economist, Market Watch, and other publications where economists are predicting the type of wealth destruction that we're going to see in this country in the years ahead. And we are talking about young people leaving the workforce, reduced incentives to save or even work as a result of widespread income support. And the fact is, it's going to be really difficult for a lot of local and state governments to roll back some of that in the months and years ahead. Once that stuff is put in place, the way it is being rolled out right now, it's going to be that much more difficult for them to roll it back as people are struggling to get back to work. The economic aftermath of all of this, and this is something that I think a lot of folks may not be cognizant of right now, but in years ahead, we're going to see just how apparent it is. But you're going to see delays in family formation amongst the millennial demographic, and that's the reality of it. And studies have shown that historically the impact on societies with aging populations, it's significant when we're dealing with delays in family formation. So that is why it's all the more important that Texans get back to work, that other states get their people back to work, so that this millennial generation can form families, have children. I think you all understand where this is going. And if we continue to have lockdowns and shutdowns in the future, we're hearing now about the governor's phased plan, and some other states have some other, ideas out there on how they're going to get businesses back online. Well, keep this in mind. If all of that is contingent upon there not being flare-ups of COVID-19 in the future, well, yeah, if there's a second wave, then that means that based on some of these policies that we're hearing about, that governments will continue with lockdowns and restrictions. And so what does that say to a business owner that's trying to make up for all the lost revenue and profit that they experienced in April and May if there's a flare-up in the fall? They're going to have to shut down again? Is that going to make them want to hire more workers in the summer? I mean, think about that. This is bad policy that's coming out of some of our state governments right now. And we need to make sure that they get the point that if we trust the healthy and if we trust Americans, that they know what it takes to be sanitary, clean, and healthy, and to go back to work. If they trust us, we'll get it right, and we'll build this country up. We'll get this economy back roaring strong. The president will be proven to be right about a strong economic recovery coming in the months ahead. But the state governments have got to trust the people. So let us demand here today that our government, federal, state, and local, trust the people, trust the healthy especially, and trust that we know what to do. And that in the years ahead, as we grow stronger as a nation, and as we overcome this, the way various civilizations have in the past, the way they've overcome pandemics, and we will, let us know that we trusted ourselves here today, and that we came out here today to show support for the cause of freedom, of getting our economy strong again, of getting our people back to work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian, for coming here today. First, I have a statement from Congressman Gohmert. I'll read that in support. My fellow Texans and Americans, the loss of life from the coronavirus so far has been absolutely tragic. With each loss of life, a tragedy. In fact, we now have lost about the same number of precious lives this year as the Centers for Disease Control says we lost in the United States during the flu season of 2017 and 2018. Another loss during this corona pandemic has been the loss of some of the Americans' cherished freedoms. I am grateful to the President Trump and Governor Abbott for significant moves to reopen Texas and America. Unfortunately, if our nation is not fully reopened soon, we will face a Great Depression, which could lead to the Democrats getting elected president and a draconian totalitarian government repression that the likes of which would exceed any tyranny King George III ever considered. It is time to be sensible about the continued contagiousness of the coronavirus and voluntarily take considerate steps to avoid further spread. But all as we reopen Texas and America while we stand so we can still have businesses not completely bankrupt and our nation indebtedness does not sink the ship of America state. Thank you all that assembled today for the love of your God-endowed freedom. May God bless all of you who love, cherish, defend our Constitution while loving our neighbors as well. Your humble servant, Louis Gohmert. Thank you, Congressman Gohmert, for taking the time to send that statement. Our next speaker is congressional candidate Sandra Witten.
Hey, y'all. My name is Sandra Witten. I am seeking to represent South Texas District 28. I'm up here today because I've been going around the state for the last year and a half reminding Texans that we're all one big neighborhood.
That's right.
Whether we're from South Texas, East Texas, North Texas, or West Texas, we're all in this fight. We're all Texans. My slogan is restoring the heart. What better time than now? We all have to come together. We all have to remember that what's happening right now is on the backs of we the people. We the people are the ones that are suffering. We see our big businesses that are open, and yet our mom and pops can't even open their doors. We see where our neighbors are suffering because they can't get to their government handout. When did we decide as Americans, as Texans, that we wanted a handout from the government that we are supposed to be in control of?
Right.
This week in my town of Laredo, I was speaking to one of my supporters, and she said, "Mrs. Witten, here's the problem. If they don't control us with fear and intimidation, then how are they ever going to be able to do things?" And I looked at her and I said, any government that feels that they need to control their people with fear and intimidation needs to be immediately eradicated.
Right.
From the bottom to the top.
Yes.
This right now is a direct reflection of your local government, of your state government, and of what your federal officially elected government is doing. What is your state representatives doing? What are your local representatives doing? Because if they're not serving the people, which is what they are your servants, just like Congressman Gohmert said, then what are they doing there? In my district, we have a very Democrat situation. It's kind of a little nauseating for those of us that bleed red. And the problem is that they don't care that Americans are losing their jobs.
They have imposed unforeseeable fines and curfews in Laredo. $4,000 fine per person, including minors, if you are out of your home after 10 p.m. Unless you're going to your essential job. Well, to my friends who own a bar for their livelihood, that is an essential job. To my friends who own a hair salon as their livelihood, that is an essential job. It's time that we, the people, remind the government who works for who. It is time for us to hold them accountable, because if we don't, the America, the Texas that we have grown up in and loved, will be no more for our children. I'm a mom of 4. My oldest boy is 15 and my youngest daughter is 16 months old. I took up this fight when she was 6 weeks old, because I understood that my children will not have a future if we continue to remain the silent majority. All of this is happening because we have been silent, because we have been worried about what our neighbors might think. Guess what, Texas? Wake up. Right. Because every single person that has been made up for the fun of for the last 10 years is having their heyday going, I told you this was coming. Yes, we are. Woo! I tease to my regular viewers that sometimes you got to pull out your aluminum hat for a second to follow what we're about to say. But those of you who know, you know. That's right. Because people think we're crazy, and yet here it is, happening right now. When did you ever think in the United States of America you would be feared into not going to church? Right. Right. People forgot what separation of church and state actually meant. Right. When in the United States of America did you ever think that you were going to be told you will not go to your job? You will sit home and you will wait for your government check. That is not the America that we know. No. To our frontline workers, we thank you so much for what you have done. For every single family that has lost a life, a loved one, our condolences. We're not taking the virus as a joke, but we are not a nation that lives in fear. No, we're not. Woo! Every single one of you that is here today is a testament of that. Every single person that has ever gotten in a car and driven somewhere is living proof that we do not live in fear. Right. Because you have a higher risk of dying in a car accident than you do of one of these viruses. And yet you still get in the car. Woo! These are not easy times, and times are going to get harder. And if Americans and Texans do not stand united with one another, it's only going to get worse. Right. I want to echo what was said earlier. You have a right. You have a right to. We say it all the time. You also have the right to not to. Right. It's your choice. It's your choice. We are a country that is founded on the right to choose. Always choose life, just as an FYI. Yeah. But everything else, you have a right to choose. Right. Every life matters. Every life matters. To quote my friend Frank Pomeroy, who's running for state senator, from the womb to the tomb, every life matters. Woo! I want to remind you to be kind to one another. Some people have their reasons, just like that were stated. Some people want to wear a mask and some people don't want to wear a mask. Thank you, Governor Abbott, for at least having the sense to take those stupid fines off. Yeah. In Laredo, we had $1,000 fines for if you were not wearing a mask. I'm all for wearing a mask, but not if you're going to fine me if I'm not. Here in the great state of Texas, we love this phrase. Say it with me. There's the flag. Come and take it. Take it. Earlier, we screamed, remember the Alamo. Friends, this is our Remember Goliad moment. In November is when we need to make our stand. We must make our stand in November. Remember this. Remember.
No mail-in ballots.
No mail-in ballots. That is the greatest way to fraud an election if I've ever seen one.
Right.
And every single bit of data from every single country proves it. We must stand firm and we must stand up and be at the voting booths in November. And in June, is that when they're doing the local elections now? It keeps changing. Pay attention to who your elected officials are. Be kind to one another. My slogan's restoring the heart. Be the heart to somebody. And always put Texas and America first. Thank y'all.
Thank you so much, Sandra Whitten. All right. So our next speaker wanted me to introduce him as this guy. Well, this guy is a U.S. retired Army Lieutenant Colonel, an author, former member of the U.S. House of Representatives, and a candidate for chairmanship.
Hey, thank you. Thank you all so much for having me down here. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for Natalia, and also Kristen. Hey guys, it's time for us to cowboy up. I'm tired of seeing all these women step up to the daggone plate, man. Come on. To share a story with you and talk about how important this time is in the history and the life cycle of the longest running constitutional republic that the world has ever known, these great United States of America. You know, I was born in Atlanta, Georgia in 1961. And I remember when my dad used to take me to Atlanta Airport. It wasn't Hartsfield International or anything like that. But think about it. Once upon a time, you could go to an airport. You could go right up to the gate. You could see your loved ones off. Or you could just have your dad take you and look at airplanes and just marvel at the opportunity of flight. But now we have a generation that is growing up that has never known that freedom. A generation that has never known that liberty. Because every single time there is a quote-unquote crisis in the United States of America, it gives someone an opportunity to take just a little bit more of your liberty and freedom away from you. So that a time will come when we have to teach our kids and tell our kids about what it used to be in the United States of America. You see these kids right here? Think about the fact that in Wisconsin, a lady had to be visited by the sheriff's office because she allowed her kids to go out and play with other kids. I was standing over there and the lady talked about let the kids eat dirt. I used to eat dirt. I came out pretty good. Once upon a time when kids got chicken pox, the parents would say, go over and play with that kid so that you could build up your immunity. But now look at what is happening. When we have our kids run into a challenge or something, we try to coddle them. We put them off into a safe space. You can't do that. And that's the exact same thing that elected officials are doing with the American people. They're trying to tell us, stay in your home, stay in your safe space. They're trying to determine who is essential, who is not essential, what is essential. Let me tell you something. There are signs out there that say exactly what Benjamin Franklin talked about when he said that those who refuse, those who give up essential liberty, you don't deserve essential liberty.
Right.
And if you give it up for temporary safety, you will not deserve liberty nor the safety. Let's tell the truth. Let's tell the truth about where we are with this COVID-19.
Amen.
We should not be fearful people.
No.
We are not descendants of fearful men and women. You think about Texas. If there's one thing about Texas, it's about rugged individualism. Last week, Saturday, I was down there at the cenotaph at the Alamo because someone has come up with the brilliant idea of moving the cenotaph away from where it stands right now. That empty tomb, that memorial. Do you think that William Barrett Travis and the other 182, when they saw the thousands of Mexicans that were gathering together, did they run for a safe space? Did they say that we got the shelter in place? Did they look and say, this is too much for us? No. They made a stand. And you must make a stand today. You must make a stand now. 99.6%. Remember that number. That's the recovery rate for COVID-19. 99.6%. If you read and study and understand, the most vulnerable demographics for COVID-19 are elderly, 60 and above. Those people that have underlying medical conditions such as obesity, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, those are the vulnerable demographics. This is not a lockdown, people. Stop saying lockdown. This is house arrest. When a dad is out playing t-ball with his daughter and he gets handcuffed, that's house arrest. In Laredo, Texas, where women who can't have their small business are doing nails or doing eyebrows in their house, and the city of Laredo runs a sting operation to find them and then arrest them and fine them $2,000 and 6 months in prison. That is house arrest. We have gotten to the point where government is saying you can't even come out of your house, but now we're going to tell you what you can even do in your house. That's not America. All for a 99.6% recovery rate of a virus. Sadly, in the great state of Texas, we have lost, yes, over 800 Texans. But I want you to understand this. If you go to the website for the Texas Workforce Commission, as of right now, there are 2 million unemployed Texans. There are $2 billion that have been paid out for unemployment claims in the state of Texas. Texas, if you did not know, is the 10th largest economy in the world. 10% of Fortune 500 businesses and corporations are in Texas. The oil and gas industry, which here in Texas made the United States of America energy independent, a net exporter of its energy resources. The oil and gas industry has been crushed. They have lost $1 trillion in assets, all because of a 99.6% recovery rate of a virus. See, ladies and gentlemen, if you sit back and allow this to happen to you now, then these children that are running around here on the grass, they won't remember what it would be like to come out and have a First Amendment right. They won't remember that you could come out with your Glock 30S 45 automatic on your hip, because that's the right that you have as an American. What they will know, you're right. You have a republic if you can keep it. The words of Benjamin Franklin. And what is a republic? A republic is a place that believes in individual rights, freedoms, and liberty. A republic is a place that believes in the rule of law. But when you have a governor like the governor of New Jersey, Phil Murphy, who stands up and says, I did not think about the Bill of Rights. That's above my pay grade. When you have someone like Gretchen Whitmer up in Michigan, when you have someone like Gavin Newsom in California, and let me tell you something, Governor Abbott, if you took away the jobs and the freedoms and liberties of Texans in an instant, we don't need you to incrementally give them back. They weren't yours to take away in the first place, and they're not even yours to give back. You heard about Shelley Luther. And give Shelley my regards, because that's one hell of a woman. But every single one of us should have that spirit. Because it is not about you and what you have done in this moment. I think about my dad, who took me to Atlanta Airport. A man that was born in 1920 in the South. A man that went and fought for his country in World War II. A man that looked at me in the eye at the age of 15 and challenged me to be the first officer in our family, because my older brother was an enlisted Marine. And it was an honor on 31 July 1982 at the University of Tennessee when I stood there and I repeated the words that my dad and my older brother had said, that I, Alan Bernard West, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That's what it's all about. that I will bear true faith and allegiance, that I take this obligation freely without any purpose of mental reservation, so help me God. Every single one of you has to have the heart of standing up for that Constitution. Because if you don't, that little one will not grow up to understand the same rights and freedoms and liberties that you have enjoyed. That little one will not be able to come out here on the grass in front of the City Hall in Tyler and run around and play and tell your great-grandchildren or your great-great-grandchildren how great-grandma and great-granddad made a stand. We should not be teaching our kids this an everyday occurrence that someone can tell you to stay in your house. You're free.
We will not stay home.
You will not stay home.
We will not stay home.
But you will open up your businesses. I challenge each and every one of you, and there should be more people here today, but that's another story. But I challenge each and every one of you to do as Shelley Luther has done. She said, you're not going to close my business. You may put me in jail, but you're not going to close my business. You may write me a cease and desist order, and I'll rip it up and I'll throw it in your face. You're not going to take away my essential liberty. You're not going to take away, as was read earlier, my life, my liberty, and my ability to pursue my happiness. What you're saying is better to ask for forgiveness than beg for permission. If you're an American business owner, there ain't nobody, Rebecca, that can tell you you can't keep your business open. Let me close by reminding you of a great quote from the only foreigner that was given American citizenship and has a U.S. naval vessel that was named in his honor. That's Sir Winston Churchill. And Winston Churchill said, fear is a reaction. Courage is a decision. Go out from this moment and make the decision to stand. Make the decision for courage. Because that's what it means to be a Texan. That's what it means to be an American. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, sir. All right. Thank you all so much for rallying together with us today. Standing for our freedom takes courage and strength. All of us has shown that today. Please join us as we march in solidarity around the square to let East Texas know that they are not alone. While we do this, we need to be mindful of private property, obey sidewalk and traffic laws. Our police officers don't need any problems from us. Kristen will be leading us in chants as we march for freedom!
Talk just after the marching thing? We can do it there. It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to be following along with the marching.